Hey guys, all right. So this is my second video that I'm going to do, and um, I figured I would talk about how growing up as an adult child of a borderline mother, how that affected me. I was um, I was 33 when I finally figured out that my mother was a borderline, and so I had a lot of years of obviously being under that influence or under that um, allowing that abuse to happen and things like that. So anyway, so I created a little list of how I think it really affected me growing up with her. So first off was just not being allowed to be who I am was huge. I was a sensitive child. Um, and so, for example, so as a girl and as being a sensitive, I would obviously be emotional at times. And, I was told from then and up until now, of course, until the last voice message that she left me, one of her fun little rageful voice messages, was to buck it up, to not um, that there was something wrong with me being emotional, which is very interesting because she's a very emotional person too. So she's literally just passing on the same advice that she was taught, that you aren't allowed to be emotional, you need to just buck it up. Um, I'm also a very, I would say, spiritual person. I'm just very highly sensitive. I'm highly intuitive. And so there's always been this sense of spirituality for me. And I remember how much she disliked that about me as well, and stuff too. And so being able to not be able to express yourself, obviously, it creates so many bad things. First, it creates shame, just not being able to handle yourself, or you feel really awful about who you are, which means that then you can't be grateful, that there's just a real lack of gratitude for yourself, for, the world around you, because, according to you, you've been told that you're a bad person. And so therefore, you can't, it's so hard to be grateful when you feel like you were born on the wrong, you were born, and there was some wrong defect with you. I think too, it also creates in you a sense of feeling like you're never enough, then, of course, because you were taught from the get-go that there was something wrong with you, and that, you're, that who you are is just bad. So, um, the other thing that it also taught was tough love, which was, you know, um, very harsh, not emotionally empathetic or compassionate love for you, but to, like, you need to be this, you need to be that, and such. And so not being able, so growing up with that tough love, which is not a form of healthy boundaries, excuse me, but it was just a form of, like, again, suck it up, get over it, you're wrong because you're the one who's being emotional, definitely creates a lack of compassion, a lack of grace for yourself, and definitely makes you more insecure and things like that. Um, Also, when you grew up with a borderline mother, their goal is to make themselves the center of your world. It's fascinating how even in my family, she is still the sun, and we all revolve around her. And it's fascinating how that is. And so, because of that, when you don't have, excuse me, a sense of your own center, what happens is then it makes you extremely programmable. I actually grew up, because I was a spiritual person too. I grew up very religious, um, and there's nothing wrong with religion at all. I think religion is a beautiful thing. But the problem for me was that I would believe everything that everyone else taught me, and wasn't able to discern for myself what really fit for me and what didn't. And, because I believed everything she told me. And then when I finally got over that, or tried to get over that, then I just switched to another program and, and believed it. And I even saw that in my own life. I own my own business. And when I first got started, I didn't know what I was doing. So, of course, I was insecure and I was just needing guidance and needing boundaries. And so I really bought into this business course that I was taking. And it's a great course and it's all really good material and such. But again, I couldn't discern what was really going to work for me in that. And so I would beat up myself for not following the ideal, way that it was supposed to go. And I'm like, wait, but taking me more time to get my business up and going, therefore there must be something wrong with me. And, that's kind of the way you work and process instead of going, no, the reason why it's taking longer, it's because of this and this and this, rational, normal reasons, So anyway, self-regulation, man, that's another big one too. I really struggled to know how to handle my emotions because I wasn't being taught how. I was taught to stuff them or to ignore them or to shame myself for them. So I developed an eating disorder. At age 12, I started binge eating, and eventually it turned into something worse and stuff as I got older, because I just didn't know how to regulate how I felt. I didn't learn that it was okay to just cry it out and to talk about your feelings. I was taught that bad feelings were bad and I needed to not feel them. So yeah, so a lot of numbing, kind of behaviors are very common too. And then yeah, just overall, I definitely developed depression because I just disliked myself. I mean, growing up being taught that there's something wrong with you, and even if you're not, specifically told directly like there's something wrong with you, growing up with a parent who feels like there's something seriously wrong with them, or seriously depressed themselves, you can't help but not be depressed too, because they really are in many ways naturally your compass. Like they really are naturally the embodiment of what it means to be a woman, of what it means to be, a man or a spouse or anything. Like they are your example. And so I think at first, like, it's really hard because you adopt what they do because they're the ones who, you see the world through their eyes as well. So, I definitely, didn't get nearly the praise or validation that I needed to growing up because of her, and my dad, because my dad would just be very passive and be very quiet. So, not getting that validation, not getting that empathy, not getting that compassion, and not being told that you're a normal person who is just going through normal things and had the power and ability to deal with them. Instead, being taught that all those things I was feeling or thinking were just usually either wrong or bad, except for the stuff that she could relate to, or the things that made her feel good. Anything that I did that was outside of what she wanted for me, was always bad or shameful. And it was just really, 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 really hard. And so obviously, yeah, it turned into me becoming a very insecure, needy, um, emotionally shameful, protective person. And so yeah, so that was my experience of what kind of manifested for me, growing up with a mother who's a borderline. So I hope this helps.